Yo, what's good, y'all? In today's video, I'm going to be continuing my code review of Steal a Brainrot. This stuff is 2 in the morning, so bear with me if I sound a little tired and whatnot. But let's go ahead and get straight into the video. Okay, so from part 1 we left off over here, Route 365. So moving on, we have the save player data function. So this function, as you guys can probably tell, this is where our data is saved. So we have the key, which is the unique identifier for this set of data and stuff, which we use the player user ID. That's usually what most games do. It's the easiest thing to use is the player's user ID because every player has a user ID and every player's user ID is unique and the player cannot change the user ID. So, this just makes the most sense. Then we have our stats data table. So all of our visible stats, such as steals, rebirths, cash, multiplier. Well, these two aren't really visible, but yeah, let's say stats, I should say. These three are our visible stats. Then this is obviously used to calculate how much offline cash you earn, and then this is a multiplier, right? Then we have our all owned units. So this is all the units you've ever gotten before, right? All of the brain rots you've ever collected before, right? Or owned. This is strictly for the index. So we're going to create a table. We're going to iterate through the list of all owned units. We're going to insert them into the table by unit name and rarity. Then we have owned units. This is pretty much currently owned units, so the ones you currently have. And then of course we need to set up your base, you know, give it ownership and whatnot. Just set up the whole base thing, and then once the base is set up, we're going to set up all the platforms, the collectors and everything, the mutations, and then we're going to set up the NPCs. So the rigs, their values, and then all the necessary information. We're going to set up all of that and stuff. If the rebirths, we're going to set up the second floors, or if the player's rebirth level is more higher, we're going to set up the second floor and everything. And then that's the data loading and stuff. And then for here, when a player leaves, we're gonna record the current time so that we are able to use it to calculate how much money they earned while they were offline. Then we then we're going to continue to save the player's data until it's successful. We're going to try to until it's successful, right? We'll update their status to disable the NPCs, and then we will also update the friend boost if there's any friends in the game. Coming down to our remote event stuff, we have our combat event. This is for using the bat. So if the player is currently not on bat cooldown, that means they can use the bat. So we're going to create the bat. We're going to assign it to value, the duration of the cooldown, parent it to the cooldown folder, of course. That we're then going to play the sound effects for the swing of the bat. Then we're going to do some calculations to determine if whether or not the player is close enough to an enemy player and they can use the bat. So we're going to get the start position from the hitbox position, the direction from the hitbox's C-frame look vector, then set up our raycast parameters, then cast array. If the ray was cast successfully, if the ray made contact with an instance, and if the instance's name is hitbox, that's how we know we made contact with a player, right? We're going to create a variable for our enemy character, our enemy player, so that we're able to update their status and everything. We're going to play some animations for said enemy, right? Then we're going to go ahead and update the property so they can't move if they fall on the ground, right? So all that greatness. Then the cooldown will eventually end. Moving on, we have this event type shops. This is for when you're trying to buy game passes. So pretty much if you don't own the game pass, it's going to prompt you to purchase said game pass. Is pretty much how most of these work. Um, Double money. This is for a product. So let's, or wait, isn't this? Oh no, no, sorry, yeah. This is for the game pass for double money and stuff. So if it's purchased, then we're gonna increase the multiplier, right? Then for the speed coil, this is if you want to own the speed coil, you're then gonna we're then going to clone it over, give it to the player. Then we have rebirth, so we're going to get the specific rebirth folder. Essentially, we're gonna get the folder that's needed that has all the information that the player needs to be able to rebirth, like the requirement, I should say. So if we can't find it, then we're just gonna return, right? So for the first one, we're gonna get the money requirement, how much money the player needs, um, if they have all of the NPCs needed, as well as the current amount of NPCs, right? So we're just gonna go through all NPC requirements. If I recall correctly, I think this is for like all of the specific the specific NPCs. Like let's say you need Tongue to her and well, I don't even know the names, but like let's say you need specific ones. I think that's for that. And then for this one for these two, this is just a general account. Like you just need like, oh, you just need 10 NPCs or new base or 15. Then money's just again pretty simple. You gotta reach the money requirement, right? Now, if all of these conditions are met, we will then update their value, we'll rebirth them, give them the money, the multiplier. We will remove all of their NPCs, all their brain rots, right? And then we reach the end. And then down here, we're just gonna subscribe to wait for this. This is grand message. This is pretty much the command where it's like an admin is trying to send a notification, a message of some sort across all current servers. Then we just have the basic while loop that we'll call our spawn NPC function every 3 seconds. And moving on from here, I don't know if we did. I don't know if I did local script already. I don't like. I genuinely don't remember, to be frank. I mean, I'm assuming I did. I can't fathom why I would start with server script and then not. Yeah, like I genuinely can't imagine I started with the server and then yeah. So I guess we'll move on to the module. So yeah. So coming back to the module, right? Let's go here. I'm probably gonna get through like half of this. So on the module script, as you can see right here, we have just, initializing the module and stuff. Then we have our services, the pathfinding service, that's used for the NPCs walking, the marketplace service used for game passes and dev products, the run service, which I feel as though I did not use. Let me check real quick. RS, or maybe I did use it? No, I didn't. Wait. RS. I need exact. Yeah, match case. I did not use it. Wow, phenomenal. Okay. So I guess I don't need it. Perfect. Anyway, moving on. So then we have the messaging service. This is for commands and stuff when you're sending messages across different servers and stuff. Then we have our mode event, the core events. Then we have our NPC folder, of course, which stores all of our NPCs. So for the first function, it's generate money, as you can imagine. It's just generating money. We have the specific NPC folder, so that would be like this, for example, this specific NPC folder, right? And then we have the NPC itself, so the NPC. Then we have its assigned platform at the base. So we're going to start playing its idle animation, right? We're going to update the text and everything. Then we're going to set up our money generation stuff, right? So whenever the amount of money the NPCs made changes, we're then going to take it through. This is just formatting. This is literally just formatting and stuff, right? We're just gonna format it so it just looks nice. So instead of it saying like 1,000, it's gonna say 1.0K kind of thing, right? Or 2.1 M rather than like 2 point, rather than like 21000000. You know, wait, I might be stupid. Oh shit, I'm stupid. Wait, 21000000. Yes, 5 zeros. Okay. Anyway, so then down here, if the player's rebirth, they have a second floor, then we're essentially just gonna update the player and stuff, right? And then we're going to check to see if the NPC has any mutations. If it does, we'll update the mutation multiplier. And then while the NPC is active, we are then going to generate some money for the player. And then this is just I guess you could call it the formula we use to calculate how much money per second is being generated. So the base amounts times the multiplier times the mutation multiplier times the friend boost. So that's simple. Then moving on to the sell NPC function. So when a player is trying to sell the NPC, they'll get half its value and stuff. We need to update the assigned platform since the NPC is no longer going to be on there. Then we can just destroy the NPC, right? Then for the steal NPC function, definitely a lot more complex. This is for when you're trying to steal an NPC from another player. So we have the stealing character. So this is the character of the player who's trying to steal. The victim player, this is who's being stolen from. Then we're gonna fire the remote event disable reset. This pretty much makes it so that if you're stealing an NPC, you cannot reset, right? And then we're gonna set up some variables for some functions, the spawn function, the status function, and the victim status function, right? So we can disconnect these. For the first function, we have the status function. So whenever their status changes, let's say they leave the game or if they're stunned, then we're going to return the NPC back to where it belongs. So we're gonna set its status back to how it was, get the old platform, we're going to essentially set it back to where it was because the stealing was interrupted, right? We'll enable the reset back, disconnect the functions, the status function, and then get it back to generating money for the original player. Let's say if the victim leaves the game, then we're essentially going to return the stealing character back to normal, right? The stealing player back to normal. Then for this code, this is for when you've successfully whatchamacallit. This is for when you've successfully stolen it, I believe. Yeah, this is when you successfully stole. Or no, sorry, no, sorry. This is for while it's in progress, right? You're gonna slow down the player who's stealing, update the NPC status value be stolen. We're gonna notify the victim that their NPC is being stolen, right? We're then gonna make it so that the NPC can be carried. And then we have this for loop right here We're then just going to wait for it to be secured. So once the enemy player has essentially made it back, we are then going to reassign this NPC back to the player's NPC, or sorry, back to the new player's NPC. So whoever's just stolen stuff, we're going to reassign it. We're going to remove all of the information from the old player and stuff, wipe that, clear out that platform, so that player can put an NPC there, and then we're going to set everything up for the new player. So it's new owner essentially, if that makes sense, right? Moving on, we have the buy NPC function. So simply, if the player has just enough money or more than the price, then they can buy it. And then if they're able to buy it, then we're going to find an available platform. We're going to find an available platform, and then we will assign it as such. Then this is just simply for the second floor, right? If we can't find a platform, then it'll just return, right? Um, then down here, this assumes we've already found one. Once we find the platform, we're then just gonna update some stuff, create the unit value, move the NPC to where it needs to be, and also save its value and stuff if it hasn't already been saved. This is simply for the index purposes, right? Then we have the NPC prompt. So this is for like the various prompts. So let's say if its status is equal to inactive and stuff. If it's inactive, what that means is that it can be bought, or is that, oh sorry, that means that it's currently like walking. It's currently walking on the not the stage. What was it called? Like the carpet. It's currently walking and someone's trying to buy it and stuff. So yeah, my bad if I get confused about something. Like, do keep in mind, guys, I did write this code like a year ago. Most of the stuff I wrote was like a year ago, last year, 2020 summer of 2025. So I may have forgotten a few things, but anyway, yeah, so then moving on for this, if they're active, we're then going to check, because that can mean a variety of things. Let's say, for example, if they're on the second floor, then we're going to sell the NPC from the second floor. If they're on then if they're not on the second floor, then that means they're on the first floor. So then we're going to go here. And then if it's neither of those, then that simply just means that we are trying to buy it and stuff, right? So we're just going to find a platform. If we find a platform, then we're good to go. And then this is just the same thing as that, but for the second floor, right? And then we're just gonna update it as stealing. Oh, sorry, this is for stealing. My bad, my bad. This is for stealing. Yeah, this code is for stealing because then it updates the player's status value to stealing. It checks to make sure that they have room to be able to put the NPC somewhere, right? To destination. This is the code essentially for the NPCs to walk to their destinations. But if I remember correctly, is there two? I feel like there's two different ones. Yeah, there's NPC move, and then there's this is to, yeah, okay. Yeah. So to destination, this is to the player's base. This is to the player's base, right? This to destination code. This is creating a path to the player's base. So we have our waypoint to the next waypoint, whether or not the player or the NPC has reached the destination blocked destination, right? We're going to compute a path from the NPC's current position to the base's spawner position, right? If all that was successful, we're then going to get our waypoints. If our path is blocked at all, we are simply going to recall the function and recalculate a new path, right? If we haven't reached our final destination, then we're going to continue. Once we reach each waypoint, we're going to increment it and continue moving on to the next waypoint, right? Once we finally make it to the end, we're going to stop the walking animation from playing, right? We're going to set the NPC to its platform and everything, update all the platform information, and then we can start generating the money, right? Then moving on, we have our command. So private admin list, whatever usernames are on this list, right, have access to private admin commands, right? So for here, this is a jail command. You have the target player, which is the player who you want to use the command on. So if you jail them, you're essentially just making it so that they can't walk, or like they can't walk or jump for like a set amount of seconds, right? And then if you're tiny, you're just making them tiny. Set money, you're just setting the amount of money they they have, right? And then spawn, you can spawn in NPCs and stuff. So it's just gonna find the NPC in the NPC folder, right? And then you can spawn them in. Then we have GM. This is for command. This is for sending a message across all servers, right? And then you have event. This is where you start events. For example, we have rain, and then the code for the rain event is later, or like at a later part on the script, further down. Then we have the spawn NPC. So this is our like main, probably most important function where the NPCs respond. So if no NPC is provided to us, then we are going to choose a random one. An NPC will only be provided to us if we're using the command to spawn NPCs. Right? So then we're going to get all of the NPC's information and stuff, its price. We're going to format everything. Instead, we're going to update all of its text labels and stuff so that the price, we have the price, the name, the rarity, how much money per second. And then we're going to run a randomizer to see if it has a mutation. If it does, we'll update everything accordingly. If not, then we will continue on. We're going to update its collision group network owner, simply collision group, so that it cannot interfere with other NPCs or players. And this is for performance. And then down here, this is just all the status stuff, right? So pretty much everything from before. This is literally the same thing, just all the status stuff from before. Then we have our NPC table. This is all of our NPCs. So each model is just our NPC, right? And then the chance is the chance of you getting it and stuff, right? So the higher the number, the higher the chance you have of that NPC spawning in, essentially, right? Choose a random NPC, and then this is just our code for choosing a random NPC, right? It essentially just takes the chance and just is like, okay, whichever one it lands on, that's whichever one we're doing. That's whichever NPC is spawning, right? Then we have NPC move. This is essentially the same as our two destination. The only difference is this is a set path from the start of the spawner to the end of the spawner, right? So we're going to play the walking animation, get all of the total checkpoints, and then we're just going to continue moving the NPC along the path until it eventually reaches the end, and then we will stop them from moving. Then we have our rain events. Simply, we're just going to get the start time and stuff, and then we're just going to let some rain fall for like 5 seconds and stuff while the rain is currently falling. Players will be able to earn more money, or like their money will actually be increasing automatically. And then yeah, that's the core module and stuff. So yeah, I think that's it. I don't know if I want to load the script, but yeah, if you guys want to see more videos like this, whether it be about Silver Brainrot or other series and stuff, for sure let me know. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in this video. Thank you for watching.